KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
Welcome to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. Each week on this program, Jeff and his guests share their expertise, personal anecdotes, and the latest industry news to keep you in the loop. Now, to provide you with insight and help you navigate the consistently changing world of real estate lending, here is your host for The Mortgage Voice, Jeff Barton.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, 888-713-2929. Pick up the phone, give us a call. We are the Mortgage Voice, and we try to help you get a mortgage, figure out what the mortgage is. Matter of fact, at my office right now, there is one of my loan officers talking with a client. And the beautiful thing about being in our business is we get to see up close and personal people who are in need, and we can help. This nice person, who is a customer, a client of ours, moved in today to the office, sat there. She's been there for 3.5, 4 hours, having loan docs, having loan programs, and having really time to spend with the loan officer, who is quite educated in the reverse mortgage product, to be able to sit there and really ask anything and everything. And that's really, if you're out there right now and you're thinking, I don't know anything about loans, I don't know anything about the process, how do I trust somebody? The best way to do that is to find somebody and start. It could be not the person you're going to do the loan with. It could be, just somebody who is recommended by a friend. It could be the local bank where you do your banking, Wells, Chase, Bank of America, even a federal credit union. But somebody, you got to start with somebody. You don't necessarily, as I said, have to go with that person, but when you sit down with a person and you begin to get a sense of who they are as people, are they pitching you? Are they helping you? Are they trying to sell you something? Or are they really explaining to you what the process is? Daryl's laughing over here because everybody out there knows what I'm talking about. Have you bought a used car lately?
Oh, man. I was just talking to my stepson who went on a job interview today for a sales position.
All right, exactly.
And we were talking about sales experiences, and I related a quick story, if I may have 30 seconds.
Oh, please.
My first wife loved to go to timeshare presentations.
Right.
Because she liked the free gifts.
Yeah, of course.
We couldn't
Weekend away, sure, absolutely.
So we would go to these things, and, a real slick guy in a three-piece suit and a big puffy handkerchief would get up and insult you because you didn't appreciate your family and you didn't take them on vacations.
Right.
We went to one, and there was this guy that looked like Danny DeVito. And he was wearing a short-sleeved white shirt,
right,
untucked, slovenly-looking guy. And he got up in front of the crowd. He said, now, I'm sure a lot of you people came for the gift, and if you've come for the gift only, go get your gift, and we'll see you later, right? There's no reason to stay.
Right.
He says, but if you like what you see, and it can be of benefit to you, and you can afford it, there's no reason you shouldn't buy something from us today. He says, if any of those three things don't exist, leave.
Right.
Yeah,
get
bye.
out.
See you later. And nobody stood up and left.
No, it's the guilt. It's unbelievable, the power of somebody standing in front of you. Yeah.
And we were talking about, feel, felt, found. I know how you feel.
Right.
I felt like that one time in my life. But what I found was this was a great thing to do,
Yeah.
And when you've heard it all your life, and then when you realize somebody's doing it to you, you go, oh, God, and you sort of melt into a puddle and run out the door.
Everybody has been involved with these kind of sales pitches, and I know that's why I say if you're out there and you're listening to me and you're afraid of the process of getting a loan, I get it. Go find anybody who's in the business and listen to them and tell the person up front you're there to learn and educate yourself about the process. Promise them anything that they need other than a signature on a document or providing them with any additional information other than information they can provide to you because you're in a search. When you leave there, you can relax and go and find another person to talk to. The reason you need to do that is because you need to educate yourself about not only the process, but about the relationships you're going to have in this business, in the loan business. You do the same thing with the real estate agent because, believe me, as Daryl's story points out, people in our business aren't there as, you know, a vocation. They're there to make money so that they can then afford their particular lifestyle. So you have to understand that everybody's out for money. It's about the education you receive, the comfortable feeling you have when you're talking to the person. Are they listening to you? Do they care about anything you're saying other than, yeah, just give me this, this, and this, don't worry about it? You want to avoid that type of person because in today's complex world of lending, and believe me, it is not simple. I don't care what Rocket Mortgage promises you, you cannot get a loan in 8 minutes. It's impossible. You need to have certain documentations presented to you within a timely fashion and to you to understand what they are in order to even get in the process of applying for a mortgage, let alone getting one in 8 minutes. So the only thing I'm trying to say here, we at Malibu Funding, and that's the sponsorship for the show as well as my particular company that I work for. I'm a loan officer, 79687. That's my NMLS number. Yeah, I understand, and you need to speak with me. We got a call last week from a nice person who was looking to be able to get a loan. I was unable to attend. I was able to get them a person that they could talk to within 5 minutes. That's usually what we try to do, get somebody who's close to where you are. And in Southern California, we're in San Bernardino, Riverside, where we're broadcasting right now, KCAA and KMET. Want to say hi to all those fine folks who help us put the show on each and every week. And by the way, Daryl, thank you as well. I really appreciate it. You know, we never on-air thank you, but you know what? Without you, it's not happening.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've only been doing this 197 years. I'm sort of the neophyte here, even though I'm on this side of the mic, but without you, I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you appreciating it.
Yeah, no problem, and I appreciate it. Yeah, okay, fine. So in the loan process, you're out there, you're looking around for a loan, you're looking for real estate, you're looking for people to trust. Make sure that you spend time in the process so that you don't get hoodwinked or, in Daryl's story, you know, felt guilty about not participating. Are you not one of these three things? Then you can leave. And, of course, as Daryl said, nobody did leave, right?
Well, I mean, nobody wanted to admit they didn't. They hadn't found out that stuff yet.
Yeah, right. Well, they, you know,
they hadn't acquired enough information to find out whether they really should leave or not.
Right, exactly. So back to the story. I have a great loan officer in my office today, right now. She's working with a client who's trying to understand reverse mortgages, and that's another product line, a number of things that you need to know within that whole sphere of there's two types of loan, right? There's a forward loan and there's a reverse loan. They're basically similar products, and they're derived similarly from whoever lends you the money, but the disclosure to you, the education about the process that you have to go through is completely different. But the process to get the loan is very much the same anyway. Watching that and seeing that, you know, we're helping that person to be able to not only understand the process, but be able to, you know, feel their way along and feel good about it. As we know, a lot of people in our business get personal references. They get referrals from other agents. They get referrals from family and friends. I would say 30 to 40% of our business is done like that through referrals. A good other 50% is probably done by meeting somebody or a friend of a friend, or you know, cold calling, and I know nobody likes the cold call. Oh, boy. It is just the worst thing. But what has fallen down in our system is the do not call list. And I'll tell you my personal story. I get calls 10 times a week from people in the telemarketing industry. And I've put my name not only on the California do not call list, but the national call list, as everybody in our business probably hates to hear that, but I don't want the darn calls either. So I get calls now from phone numbers that look suspiciously like my phone number. You know, they're the first digits, the second three digits are the same, and then some jumble of the last four. So I'm always curious as to, I wonder who this is. And, of course, it's the biggest mistake in the world, because once you answer the phone, now you're in their system as somebody who answers the phone. But there is something we got the other day online in an email. It talked about a new way by which you can receive phone calls. It's a basically it's a VoIP system where you can pick and choose different numbers that you can use to either, for your business or have people in your business to call out. So this, with the advent of VoIP and the easy access to many different telephone numbers, you can get calls from Kansas, from Texas, from Northern California, and it's all coming from the same person. And because of that, all of the laws put into place from 2006 and 7 to prevent telemarketers is out the window. Because one, when you call that number back, it's disconnected. Two, when you try to figure out where that's coming from, it's from a VoIP system, which basically you cannot track unless you're the federal government. So those people out there, I feel your pain. It happens to me too. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry. Thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. The telephone number is 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number to talk about mortgages, real estate, what's going on in your life. I know you're nervous because obviously it's summer. You have to move. You need a new mortgage. You need a new house. You need someone to talk to. So if you pick up the phone, you can give us a call. Our email address is info@malibufunding.net. It's a great company I work for. They sponsor the show, so give us a call and we can set you up with a terrific loan officer and solutions to some of these problems that are out there right now with low housing inventory, rising interest rate, and the like. With us today is a terrific loan officer, Celia Rios, who is going to give us some information about what's going on in her neck of the woods. Celia, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Jeff, for having me again. Appreciate it.
And thank you very much for being on. I really appreciate it. So you were telling me off air that you're at a place where they're doing, or you're sponsoring, or you're putting on outdoor concerts. Where's that?
At Costa Mesa, California.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, and you're involved in the local community like that?
Absolutely. I'm part of the city council, and I do volunteer work. It's all volunteer, not a voting seat, but definitely all volunteer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so in your sphere, in your place that you work, obviously being local, being tied into the community is a big part of most of the customers. I mean, they all like to know that the loan officers and the people they work with are obviously plugged in not only to, what the rates are, but also, where the good schools are. Do you find that that's helpful when you're talking to your clients?
Yeah, it really is. People want, the best education for their children and, the best efforts that they can move forward. But I'm going to tell you, I live in a very kind of crazy kind of place where I live in Costa Mesa. You have schools that are rated 10, 8, and 10, which is the highest ratings you can get.
Right.
And then I can literally go 3 blocks, and I have 1 and 2 ratings, the lowest ratings you can get.
Well, right. That's not good.
Yeah, part of it is education, but I'll tell you this right now, in the areas where the schools are rated 1 and 2, you can't find a house that's for sale that's going to be, on the market more than, 2 weeks.
Now, you've got an area, and tell us about that. The product flies off the shelves down there in that area, right? I mean, it's really tough to find something unless you get on it right away. Absolutely. And you have East Side Costa Mesa and West Side Costa Mesa. West Side was, the lower end. Not anymore. It's, I just found a friend of mine on the way over here that, a house, I was telling him, I said, hey, that house is on our market, you should buy it. And, he's like, oh, I'll think about it. I'm like, oh, too late, it's already gone. And right.
It sold for $650. They put less than $50,000 into it, and they sold it for $825.
Wow. How long did it take them? 3 months?
Yeah. It was literally within, in fact, can I tell you, one of the things that they put on it when they went to sale was, hey, this is a less than 90-day flip. Make sure your financing lender knows that. That's
interesting. Why don't you explain why, well, not why, but explain a little bit about the flipping issue when it comes to buying properties.
Well, what happens is if I go in and I buy it in a flip, as a lender, I'm concerned that it's inflated value. And
right.
I don't want to lend on anything that has sold for, anything over, usually about 100,000 is the mark.
Oh, I see.
It's usually about, 10 to 20% increase.
Right.
But it depends on your area. So I don't want to lend on that because that could be overly inflated. There could be a lot of stuff wrong with the place that you're going to try to come back at me. So anything under 90 days, and actually a lot of lenders have a different overlay that says anything less than 120 days, I don't want to lend on the full value. I'll lend on the original value.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that there is, obviously with the expansion of some of the loan products that we have out there in order to be able to satisfy the hunger in the industry for more loans, they've loosened up some of these restrictions. So some lenders will do it and some won't.
Right, and it's your vanilla lenders that aren't going to do it,
Right. Right.
And here's the thing, and that's why, for me, I think that's why you're going to see the mortgage broker division really grow.
Yep.
Because they're the ones that could say, honestly, I'm as a broker, I'm going to check out everything that's out there, and I'm going to present them to you, which, by the way, isn't that what we're supposed to do as a mortgage professional? Whether you work for a bank, a credit union, or, or a mortgage broker, yes. I'm going to say, hey, this is everything I can give you. But if I work for a bank or a credit union, this is all I can offer you is what we have here, and these are the only guidelines.
Yeah, it's very interesting in that regard because we in the lending industry are supposed to be able to get the best loan for the customer. But in the secondary market, they don't care about the customer. What they care about is the validity of the product. So there's this real, like you say, the Wells, the Chases, the larger mortgage institutions that are really looking for safe because they know in the secondary market they're making their money buying and selling loans. They're not making their money originating. Mortgage brokers originate. That's why they are able to shop better than, let's say, your corner bank.
Exactly. I mean, it's something that, I think people don't understand, but I think because of that mess depression that we came out of, I think you're going to see more and more people are gravitating towards, hey, you know what, I'm going to go find out what my bank's giving me, my credit union, but I also want to check out with my local broker to see, what is the best deal that fits for me. And what I think everyone needs to get away from is it's not the rate.
Right.
The rate isn't going to help me if I can't get into that house. It's going to be what fits my situation, what fits my ability to pay it back, because I also don't want to be house poor.
No, you don't want to be into a situation where you're at 55% debt-to-income ratio and you're struggling each month to pay your bills as well as your mortgage.
Exactly, which, someone that hasn't been in the industry that long or that isn't required to do, all the education and licensing that you and I are required to do.
Right. That's right.
They won't know the difference.
Well, right, and what you're talking about is a registered loan officer for the local bank that really doesn't have to have the same kind of education or licensing that you and I have when we go out and represent clients. They are just liability, and they lies with the bank, and all they are really doing is writing up the mortgage app and passing it up the line. And that's the other thing, the speed by which you need in a market whereby the real estate is really flying off the shelf. You need to act fast, and I don't know if banks are capable of doing that.
Well, I got to tell you, Jeff, I just came, I decided, things are slow, and I was being, asked to come work for a mortgage lender, so they're not a bank.
Right.
They're a servicing company that decided they wanted lend, and I went to go work for them. And I had to leave because that's exactly what I saw. I saw, you know what, just get the application, get the credit, and then pass it on. And I'm like, no, I'm a mortgage professional. And
right.
I would be in, they record all your conversations and everything, and I would historically sit there and I'm Macy's, I'm like, on the movie Miracle on 31st
right,
Street.
I'll help you regardless of whether I benefit. Right.
That's exactly. And I said, write me up. And they're like, no, we kind of like this that you do that. I said, if you can't offer them what's going to fit them, why am I going to, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I cherish my license, and I cherish the fact that I want to help people. I'm not here to pass the buck and make a dime and move on.
That's exactly what first segment of the show, that's all I was talking about, was that to be able to help people, to watch that happen is really different than necessarily sitting behind a desk and and pushing papers along just to make whatever your draw is or whatever your requirement is. It's just a different way of looking at lending. And I agree with you. I think mortgage brokers are going to grow. I read an article 2 weeks ago that stated the exact same thing. Because of the environment we're in, mortgage brokers are nimble. They're able to expand without cost. And these things are important, especially when you've got fewer loans to go around in order to support larger, obviously the Wellses and the Bank of Americas and the Chases. They need to expand their purchase of loans, and there's only one group that can really do that. These are the mortgage brokers, mortgage bankers.
Absolutely. I think we're going to be the ones who really push this industry in the true responsible way it's supposed to be.
Right. No, and I think up front, when you're having to go through the hoops, I spoke with 7 different lenders in the past month about what they do when they describe underwriting. Because on every loan, and every borrower who's had a loan will see a fee for underwriting. So I asked them, I said, well, look, I looked in my paperwork. I don't see the job description for underwriting. It was surprising to me how little of checking the validity of the documentation is done by the underwriting team unless they have software available to them. It was shocking to me. So therefore, the front end of the loan, which brokers and mortgage bankers, that's the most difficult part, is to qualify and get the documentation together. And they don't do the work on verifying it so it lands on the desk of the mortgage broker, which is fine, but it's like, why are you charging the underwriting fee?
Exactly. Honestly, underwriting has come to the point where all they actually do is, you said this is what's on here. I'm
right.
looking at the automated approval, and I'm checking my boxes that that's what it says.
Yeah, and I can sell the loan. And to my knowledge, that's not servicing the client. Maybe the client screwed up. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they shouldn't get in this loan. And maybe that's what the underwriter is supposed to be looking at. Certainly the loan officer is looking at that, but it can't. Anyway, Celia, I really appreciate you coming on the show. That was great.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. Thank you again for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. This is Celia Rios from Malibu Funding, and I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For questions or comments, send emails to info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number. If you pick up the phone and give us a call, we can help you with your mortgage questions. I know everyone who listens to the show goes, I didn't know there was a show about mortgages because it's so boring. No, it's not boring. It's interesting. It's things that you need to do. It's grown-up stuff. I mean, anybody who's got a mortgage will tell you the process itself is it can be daunting, fearful. There can be a lot of different emotions associated with trying to get one, especially if you're in a limbo about getting an approval. So if you're out there and you're looking for information, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. This is certainly a place that you can come to both online and offline. I'm Jeff Barton. I gave you the phone number. Let's see. My Twitter handle is @Jeff6493. We're on YouTube. TheMortgageVoice.com is a website with which we broadcast this show or show at KCAA, KMET, and K-Tahoe, Northern California. If you're in any of these places, you can hear us on the weekends, and I really appreciate the audience that we've built and the people that put on the show, so thank you very much. With us today is another terrific loan officer from Malibu Funding, is Bill Orr. And Bill, how are you?
I'm great, Jeff. How are you doing today?
Me, I'm just terrific. It's hot, it's summertime, there are things going on in both rising rates and dwindling inventories. So the expansion of both the credit cap and also the loan products is something I wanted to talk about today. Give us your idea of what's going on with either one of those or both.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
No
Well,
problem.
the first thing, actually, I wanted to kind of go back to your opening comments, about people interested in buying a home and sometimes various credit issues.
Right.
I want to say that if you're considering buying a home and you think you have bad credit or you think you have bad credit, therefore that's why you're not asking for help to buy a home, I just want to leave you with this thought, which is you're not qualified to disqualify yourself.
Oh, that's good.
And by that I mean you owe it to yourself to pick up the phone and call an experienced loan officer to see if you can really buy a house. I'm going to give you an example that happened to me yesterday. A woman has been putting off, very, very successful. She's a registered nurse. She has 2 full-time jobs. She's doing very well financially, but her credit was bad. She had a bankruptcy in 2012, and most recently, the thing that was causing her the most stress was that her mother had passed away, and what she thought was a favor to her daughter, she passed on this timeshare.
Oh, my. I know those. Yeah, yeah.
About that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, her credit is an issue. It has a 608 credit score. But with a little bit of work and a little bit of experience, I was able to get her loan pre-approved today. This woman didn't think she could buy a house and was reluctant, frankly, to even talk with me.
Right. Right.
And I also want to make another point, too. Look, with all due respect to the big banks, I used to work at one.
Yep.
I am a former Wells Fargo employee. But those companies do not have all the answers. They're great for checking book and savings account and maybe car loans, but they do not have all the mortgage answers. And
No, they don't.
In fact, this list line I got today, I would not have gotten approved at Wells Fargo.
Well, I agree with you 100%, and I also agree with you on what's Wayne Gretzky's line. You know, you what is it? You miss 100% of the shots you never take.
That's right. That's a Wayne Gretzky quote. That's right.
Right. Exactly.
And so you miss it. So that, and to translate that for people who are listening, that means if you don't pick up the phone and call, you're never going to find out. And there really is more to obtaining a home loan than point and click.
Right. No, I know I berate that Rocket Mortgage thing almost daily on the show just because, you know what, you need a person, a human being, somebody to take responsibility for what they're saying rather than some app on a phone 8 minutes later. It can't happen. It's impossible to happen, especially if you've got something that you're worried about or somebody you need to have reassurance that you can get through this process. You just can't do that online. Can't do it with an app, can't do it on your phone.
That's right. There is a small section of the population that have got perfect credit and perfect income and $100,000 in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
For those people, maybe they can't get a loan with Rocket Mortgage, but for the most part, and also based on my experience, I've been doing this for 22 years, and I have experience with large organizations like that. And what they do, just for people who are listening, is they take people who are not licensed and
Right.
they sponsor them. Then the company pays for all their training. So a few months later, you're speaking with a loan officer who's already been a loan officer for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Right.
And they only know what their boss tells them, what training programs they've get at their current employer, but they are not experienced loan officers to deal with the issues I just described. So if you're listening, and if you have any doubt about your credit, and if you're holding back from calling a real estate agent or a loan officer because you don't think you've got good enough credit to qualify, you have to pick up the phone and call. I can get a loan approved with a 3.5% down payment with a score as low as like a 550 or 575 credit score. These things are possible. So that's one of the things that happened to me this week. And
That's good. I mean, helping people is what we do, right? And as I say all the time, what we do in our business mainly is help people. And we usually help people who, you know, need it. Obviously, the person, as you described, is the A credit person, the person with the job that's got plenty of dough and also a lot of money in the bank. They may not need the experienced loan officer, although I would argue against that. But let's say they don't need one. There's 80% of the people out there who do. And those kind of people are the ones that we love to help. I love watching my loan officers help somebody get a loan because, and I was doing it today at the office. Somebody came in with a reverse mortgage. The loan officer sat with them for 3.5 hours and went through all the paperwork. Well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do when you know that what you're doing and this profession. Now, the products out there in the marketplace, you talked about low credit scores. Give us an idea of some difficult or maybe non-traditional loans that might be out there to be able to help somebody who's in a position where they can't necessarily get a cookie-cutter loan.
That's right. Great question. Okay, so with regards to the non-traditional credit, and this is we're going to kind of segue a little bit maybe more into the real estate investors.
Right. Okay.
And the issue has been for ever since the economy collapsed back in 2008, 2010 timeframe, there's been a huge need for people who make money, but and they have decent credit, but they're self-employed, or maybe just the nature of their business. They run a cash business. I met with a client who runs a motorcycle repair shop. I mean,
Right.
let's be serious here. The most of his income is cash, like greenback dollar bills.
Right.
He literally can't, or he chooses not to disclose all of his income on a tax return. That's not my business. That's just how he does it, and that's okay. But that guy still deserves a house. How do you help that guy buy a house?
Right.
So for real estate investors, we have a lot of options now. The first thing is bank statement programs who are advertised on the radio. Oh, we have employment for solutions for self-employed borrowers. That's how we do it. So we're going to take somebody who maybe does have large deposits, but they don't claim all the money in their income tax, but the money is still there.
Right.
We can help them with, they do have to have a large down payment, usually a 20 or 25% down payment, but we can help them buy a house. Or they've got virtually no income to speak of at all.
Right.
There are loan programs, for example, one of our lenders has a program with a large enough down payment, 25 or 30% down payment. As long as they've got the cash to back it up and the credit, we can have their CPA write a letter stating what their income is.
Right.
Keyword, stated income, and we can help that person buy a home.
Now, when you talk to these type of clients, are they clients that used to do this stated income stuff back in 2008, or are these really people who need that type of program and can qualify to buy a house?
That's right. They need the program because they can't buy a house. Again,
Right.
Going back to this guy who runs a motorcycle shop, he's a real guy. He loves his family. He just happens to have a type of business that, he doesn't claim everything he makes on his taxes. I'm not here to be the judge or character. I'm just trying to help him buy a house. Right,
exactly right. And there are programs out there from certain type of lenders, and these are non-qualified loans, so Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, they don't get involved with these.
That's right. That's the key. That's a mortgage speak. Non-qualified is a mortgage term.
That's right.
But that's right. For the average consumer, it's not going to be an FHA loan. It's not going to be a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or Sallie Mae loan. It is going to be a loan through specialized mortgage banks who specialize dealing with primarily self-employed and or investor borrowers.
And Bill, aren't the rates here not as bad as they used? I mean, they're okay. They're not huge.
They're okay.
Right.
That's exactly right. Some of them are not. One of them is great as 4.75.
Yeah, that's tremendous. That's almost like a standard mortgage right now.
That's right.
Right.
That's a great program, and some of them do go into the low sevens, depending on what the particulars are. But if you look at not being able to buy a house at all.
Right, of course. Yeah, it's an intro loan. You're into the house. Exactly right. Hey, Bill, shout out your phone number with you. We're up against the clock here.
Sure. Area code 818-406-4744. Again, 818-406-4744. And my name is Bill, and my last name is Orr, O-R-R.
Bill, thank you very much. I really appreciate it when you come on. You're very exacting. You tell it like it is, and also you're helping people understand that there are solutions, especially if you don't think there are. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Thanks, Bill. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
Okay, very well. And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For questions or comments, send emails to info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. Pick up the phone and give us a call. If you don't want to give us a call, you can email us, info@malibufunding.net. I've got a Twitter handle. I've got bartonblog.net, which is a blog I put out about once every couple of weeks. I put something out there just about what's going on both in the industry and in my own life. I think it's a good life when you can kind of make it all happen together, whether it's your personal, whether it's your private, whether it's your professional. But let's say you're the same person throughout the entire panacea of your life, that's a good thing, because it means you're a genuine, honest, straightforward person. And I think when we get into talking about mortgages, trusting real estate agents, people in our business, 90%, 99% of the people that I work with every day are terrific. They're great, they're honest. All they really want to do is help people to either buy a house, get a loan, move into it, whether it's the escrow people, the title people. There are many, many, many people who are in our industry who never get a pat on the back, thank you. And so those are the type of people who are working for you to try to get you a loan. I know that the process, and we've talked about it earlier on the show and with our two guests today, Celia and Bill, that the process itself is not simple. It's not easy. It's not easy to understand. Reading papers that you've never had an experience reading before, it's like going to a lawyer and trying to read a lawyer's contract. It's very similar to that. But there are many people who will help you, whether it's the escrow person, the notary that comes in, traveling notary that helps you notarize your documents. What are all these professions? What do they do? How do they help me? How can I trust them? Are they just here to try to push me into something that I don't really want? No, 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 and no. I think most of us in the business, the goal we're trying to do is obviously earn a living, but also help people. It's a stressful, let's face it, money is stressful. You got $20 in your pocket, you're more stressed than if you have $100 in your pocket. That's just the way it is. And I understand for most of you out there, you're trying to get into something, you want to refinance a house, maybe pull some money out, put it into a new property, maybe buy a new car, maybe something else that you need, medical bills. I mean, there's a myriad of things that money is useful for, but the stress involved with it is huge. You're out there, you're trying to get a loan, you want to get into a house. The thing that I want to stress to the audience today, to everybody out there who's listening, obviously that would be anybody who's got the radio on, the stress to try to get a loan can push people in a direction that is illegal and you shouldn't be doing. So if you are in a position where you have to have this house, you need this loan to get this house, and you're being told by professionals who are helping you get this loan to do something that you know is wrong, that you shouldn't be doing, and your stresses are making your decision-making process confusing and muddled. And I know many people who just say, I don't want to know about it, you just do it, and let me know if I get the loan. That is not the approach that the industry needs. We're all in the mortgage industry in terms of trying to get you a loan and help you. There is a product for everybody. There are solutions for anybody out there who needs a loan. Patience, understanding, and trusting in a professional who is looking at you not as something that they can make money off of, but as a somebody, as a person who needs help, who really needs guidance, somebody to trust. This is not a simple thing to go through, especially if you're marginal. And what do I mean by marginal? Maybe your income doesn't fit the property you want to buy. Maybe your credit score isn't good enough to get you the rate to qualify for the mortgage that you can afford. Maybe the house that you want to buy has some issues with it that you just want to bypass because the seller is willing to give you money on the side. There are all ways in which this industry gets ugly. I don't want it to get ugly for you out there. I want you to do right by not only the industry, but by yourself. There are many people, as I said, who I deal with on a daily basis who are so interested in helping you that you don't need to do those kind of things. So I know you're out there. I know you're listening to what I'm trying to say. You can always give us a call, 888-713-2929. Run by a fictitious scenario if you need information, guidance. Run by a scenario by which you've been pitched or told this is right and the way by which you can do something. I would be happy to help you anonymously give you advice as to the best and straightest possible path by which it's from you to your loan, you to your house. And maybe it takes a little bit of time to build your credit. Maybe it takes a little bit more time to bring in a relative or somebody else on the loan in order to qualify income-wise. There are solutions. Believe me, this trend towards higher price real estate will not go on forever. The economy in general has ups and downs. We're currently in a rising up. 211,000 people were hired last month in the nation, which is a lot higher than they thought it was going to be. We have a steady unemployment rate of about 4%, but the most important thing in all of these statistics is we are expanding the marketplace for people who want jobs. So at 100 people, 4% means 4 people aren't working. But if you have 105 people who are now working, 4% is still 4%. It's a couple more people not working, but you're expanding the amount of people in the workforce, which is a good thing because it pays for your roads. It pays for what we're doing in the public sphere. Now, we've got important elections coming up this fall, both here in California and certainly across the country. Whether you vote right, whether you vote left, whether you vote with your pocketbook, or whether you vote with your conscience, or whether you have some social agenda which one issue dictates exactly who you want to vote for. Get out there and vote. There's nothing that's going to change in terms of the positive for you or anybody else unless you participate in the process by which your leaders are chosen. I know in my particular area, now let's just call California my area, I'm not into certain types of taxes, I'm not into certain types of leadership, I'm not into certain shirking of responsibility. That's a libertarian viewpoint. However, I do believe that, there's enough dough around that we can help a lot of people. And if we spend it wisely and do the right thing by those type of people, we could probably help many, many people. So my particular choice of who I'm going to vote for is very dependent on both what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and how much I think that we should all be involved financially. Whatever your proclivities are, right, left, up, down, I don't care, but participating only helps you. The ability by which to get a mortgage is linked up with the people who are providing you leadership in government is a direct link. HUD is a government program, right? The Housing and Urban Development. And they come up with FHA, the products that we lend all the time, up and down, all over the place. Credit scores down to 550. That's what we'll do. We can help you with all kinds of other government programs, whether it be down payment assistance programs. These are done by either the state of California, the Cal HAFA program, or local municipalities, whether it be San Bernardino, Riverside, whether it be other counties around Los Angeles, or the city of Los Angeles. All these government agencies are the ones that your elected officials decide how much money is infused into these particular programs. Each and every year they come up for a revote or a refunding. So if you have needs and you want certain things done in housing, let's say you want more housing built, how is that going to happen if your local municipality is not able to streamline some of the processes by which we can have multifamily units built, or we can have more units built. For instance, we're looking at 620,000 new homes built in America. You know how many we need each year? 1 million. You know the main obstacle towards not getting those extra 400,000 homes built? Regulation. So how the elections affect what you can borrow, affect the housing you need is very, very important. And again, every 2 years we have federal elections, and normally we have state and local elections as well. Every 4 years we have a presidential election. So your vote matters, and the direction by which both your your mortgage needs as well as your housing needs comes directly from the choice you make politically. We have a show out in Las Vegas Real Estate Show. We've had on several candidates this year for the local congressional district, District 3 out there. It's very interesting. There's a lot of national play because of the guy, Jerry Tarkanian's son, who continuously and always runs, has been asked by President Trump to run against somebody else rather than the Senate candidate out there who looks to be a Republican right now. But anyway, all of these things of what I'm talking about today affect you, affect us in the mortgage industry, and I want you to participate in a very straightforward and honest way. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For questions or comments, send emails to info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. Pick up the phone and give us a call. Last segment, I was doing a bit of a lecture. I apologize for that, but I think it's sometimes important to remind people that, not only are there needs in the mortgages themselves for clients, but obviously people in the business depend upon legitimacy and truth in everything we do. So helping out and reminding people of that is obviously part of what we do. You know, when you sign that 1003, and the 1003 is the loan app, there's actually new loan applications coming out from a number of sources, but the loan application, it's lengthy right now, depending on you, depending on your income, depending on your work history, where you live, a lot of things that need to go on that. But when you sign that loan application, that is your testament that everything on that loan application is true. The loan officer is there, the one interviewing you, whether it's on the phone or online or actually sitting right there in front of you, which is kind of the way we like to do it. Yeah, they're there to help you, guide you, answer questions, but the information that you do give them is, you know, obviously very, very important, and the entire loan process starts and ends right there. If that information is wrong, then the entire process, regardless of how thorough we might be, is in jeopardy. Several things in an article I just read, loved the article, talked about being the power originator, a guy named Ray Brousseau. He talks about what loan officers need to do in order to be a power originator. Now, I don't know about you. I power walk. I kind of know what that term means. It means you're kind of determined and you're striding purposefully and you're really, you know, grooving up that mountain as fast as you're grooving. That's a 60s word. Sorry about that. You're moving hard up that mountain and you're really pushing forward. So in the loan business, imagine that picture of the loan officer, and there are 5 traits that this particular loan officer must have. But in reverse of that, the first thing they say, which I happen to agree with, is you got to listen. We in the loan business have such knowledge and are really ready to help. But the most important thing when that customer comes to us and says, hey, I need help getting a loan. Can you help me? And you say, sure. What do you need? What are you looking for? What's your income? They start asking and probing questions, but listening to the answer so that we can get the fullest picture possible is what we try to do. So this process of getting a loan, this trust between loan officer and client, really starts with listening. And this, of course, according to this Broussard person, about the power originator. Daryl, when you get a second, I want you to, we have 5 different things that are in the loan officer process of this high-powered loan officer. First one is listening, which is kind of antithetical to powering up something. You don't really slow down and listen, right? It's kind of the opposite of what the power guy is.
Well, listening is you know, everything starts with listening.
Everything starts with listening. So number 2 is don't make decisions for your borrower. This is to the loan officer, right? This goes hand in hand with listening.
Well, sometimes you're the expert and you should.
Well, it really depends. Well, making decisions, no, but providing information. I often say in sales, you usually take seven no's to the yes, right? And instead of saying no to somebody or telling them that they're wrong, you really have to look at it as they just don't have enough information to make the correct decision.
When they cut my hair.
Right, okay.
They say, do you want me to use scissors or a razor?
Okay.
And I say, I don't have enough knowledge of your business to tell you what tools to use.
Right, and that's the
You're
opening.
the expert.
Right.
You make the decisions.
Right, and that's the opening for the loan officer to say, okay, I know you don't know, but I want to make sure that you have the knowledge that you can make the correct decision. Here's what I think.
Right, so if you lay up, if you're the expert, subject matter expert, lay out all the options
Right.
and then allow the client to make decisions, that's fine. But if you can't take 20 or 30 years of knowledge and enlighten the client in all the aspects that you've accumulated over that period of time.
No, and I think in a situation where we're talking about here about not making decisions for the borrowers, we're talking about, look, like you say, 20 years of experience in loan programs. I know loan programs that existed that don't exist anymore, and that part of the history and experience that I can bring to the table, I can't explain that to you, but it will give me a better idea of how to help you.
So the magic words that I'm looking for as a consumer from an expert is, here's weighing out all the options.
Right.
Here's what I think that you should do.
Right. Okay, I like that.
Right.
Yep.
And me as a client or consumer say, that's great. You've been doing this a long, long time. I trust you. We've built a rapport. We've
Right.
built a relationship. We've either done business before or we're building a relationship where we would continue to do business over a long period of time.
Right.
And I will go with what you believe is the right thing to do.
And on its heels is number 3 on his list is communicate constantly. I got a call last week, and this one particular loan officer, and she explained to me why she doesn't call back this particular client. She said, look, when I get a new customer, for some reason in my area, I am known as the problem solver. And this particular customer, I don't get easy loans. I get loans that are hard to do, that need credit fixes, that need programs that I have to search out for. They're not cookie-cutter loans. So when somebody who's looking for the update on their loan, that they know they have complications, and I mean many complications, there's no need to contact me on a daily basis when the fix is going to take 3 weeks. That aside, communication is probably the most important thing with a customer to establish rapport, trust, and let them know what's going on.
But the other thing is, if this is a client that's been kicked in the teeth a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
They're probably, and your loan officer or your real estate agent tells them, here, I think I can help you out. That person that's been kicked in the teeth 2 or 3 times is probably a little wary,
right,
that, you know, that there is a solution out there for them, and they need some reassurance.
That it's so true, and this is the fine line, and I got to tell you, that there's burnout in our business, you know, like any business. I mean, if you're in the firing line or on the firing line, like consistently for years, after a while, it gets to be like you need to take a break. But of course, you got bills, and you got things you need to pay, and you know, the rent, the mortgage, whatever it is, so you're in the business. When you're consistently having to be the understanding one, the one that explains that, and by the way, that's a terrific loan officer that can do that. You find a loan officer or a mortgage professional or a real estate agent that can hang with you, even though you know that they've probably had 50 different clients just like you who are constantly in need of reassurance. And there are those people out there who need that, as Darryl said, because of the fact that they've had difficulty getting a loan because they've got difficult loans to do. So
it's like the celebrity that doesn't like people and doesn't want to sign autographs and doesn't want to shake any hands, and, you know, I mean,
right.
It's part of the gig.
Right, it's part of the gig. It's absolutely part of the gig. Number 4, be prepared. Now, this falls under the heading of experience, obviously, but knowing the type of client who's coming in for the interview for the 1003, which is the loan application, knowing that they're going to come in, they want to buy a house, they don't have a down payment, so they're looking at either a Fannie Mae 3% down payment or a FHA 3.5% down payment, and you know that the products out there right now are requiring X, Y, and Z, and you have 2 or 3 different options for them. So being prepared when this type of client or any type of client comes in is always the way to go, as opposed to, and everybody's been there, hi, what can I do for you? No, I don't need what I can do for you. I'm here, I'm at the car dealership. What do you mean? I'm looking for a car. Well, let me help you. What kind of car are you looking? Oh, for gosh sakes, I don't need that.
A couple of years ago, I had a couple of attorneys I was talking to trying to decide which one to use.
Represent you? Yeah.
Yeah. And there was one guy that, you know, I called him. He always answered the phone. It was always on the speaker phone, always intimidating.
Right.
I say who he was. What were you calling again for? Who were you?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, thanks.
I've only
Bye.
talked to you 50
Bye.
times. Yeah, exactly.
Bye
right.
now.
And the 5th thing, which really goes hand in hand with all this stuff here, really the only real, I guess, technical one of these 5 points is to be prepared, right? Know your products, know what the client wants, know exactly where you need to direct or help the client in terms of problems that it may have. But the 5th one here is be positive. Be upbeat. Be something that someone can grab a hold of and say, hey, you know what? There is hope for me. Because believe it or not, and I, thousands and thousands of people I have talked with and helped with loans. So I know that there are loans for almost everybody. I mean, if you've got whatever problem it might be, there is a solution either with time or with patience or with just knowing the product line out there
Well,
in the
you
myriad
can.
number
Why
of
not?
lenders, and whether it's a qualified mortgage or a non-qualified mortgage, whether it's even hard money. I know flip people use hard money all the time. Why? Because it's easy, there's zero documentation, and they only need the loan for 60 to 90 days. So for anybody who's out there who needs that, we can help you, and that's the key to be positive. I guess that's with life, right? I mean, in general.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you really need to be and have that positive attitude, especially in sales. Now, I know a lot of people out there hate the sales person, but being positive in terms of trying to specifically look at the client and say, we can help you, here's what we can do, let me get back to you, this is the information I need to see if I can help you. Those are the positive approaches to you, as opposed to, gee, I don't know, this is going to cost you. Ooh, boy, look at this thing. You know, I mean, and we've all heard that too, and especially if your credit is not as great as it could. Go into some store or go into, I think it was Sears was the first, and Sears doesn't exist, right? But Sears was the first credit card I ever got.
Yeah.
And applying for it, I was so nervous. And the person who took the application was, you know, give you one of those, he said, I don't know, you know, like, I'm 20 years old or 21 or whatever it was. It was just awful. Anyway, Daryl, thanks for jumping in. I really appreciate it.
Always look on the brighter side of life.
Yes, the
Monty
brighter
Python,
side of life. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry and also your singing voice today. Thank you very much for listening in, and we'll see you next time.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. For more on today's topic, visit www.malibufunding.net.